Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another live stream watch along on the Dibbly-Dobbly podcast. It's Australia versus South Africa, the third and final test of this test series. And we got some bad news. It's raining at the SCG, and it doesn't look good for any prospect of play for the remainder of the day. But we can have a chat. We can talk about things. We can discuss how this series has gone for Australia and South Africa, and talk about Australia's 2023, which is going to be a big year. But yeah, very disappointing that we did not have any play at the moment. Very disappointing. Hopefully, fingers crossed that the weather can improve, and hopefully we get some play. But it doesn't look good at the moment. Play not really looking good for the remainder of the day. Let's hope that changes today for the remainder of the day. But not looking good at the moment. Raining at the SCG, rain delay, and yeah, it's pretty much what we associate with Sydney these days, especially with the New Year's test played at this time of year, is that it's always going to rain at this time in the year. So that's disappointing, but hopefully we can get some play either today or tomorrow, and hopefully see Usman Khawaja reach his century, double century. In fact, he's not far away from crossing that off. Hopefully he can tick that off and get that double century, and Australia will be hoping for that. I think many people will be hoping for that as well. So we're going to be here on for a little bit, just having a chat, talking about things that you want to talk about, especially in the game of cricket. So we might as well have a chat for a little bit, and any questions that you may have, we can answer them. But at the moment, play doesn't look good at the moment. It doesn't really look good for the remainder of the day. But we can ask some questions, comments, keep them in the chat. We're going to be here for a little bit. If you want to talk about how this summer has gone or what's going to happen for Australia in the next couple of months this year, because it's going to be a very busy summer of cricket overseas tours, that is, for Australia. Raj says, thank you for joining us, Raj. You say the selection for the game was interesting. I don't know how Renshaw has done in the domestic season. Last played was against India, right? That's correct, Raj. He didn't play. The last test match he played was in India, and that was in 2017 when Australia last toured. Australia do consider him for India, which is next month. They do think that Matt Renshaw can be a very handy batter in India. In those conditions, he's done pretty well in the Sheffield Shield for Queensland, and he'll be hoping to continue that form into the test arena. For him, it's a good opportunity for him to get back into the side for this test in Sydney. Australia went with him to replace Green, and obviously they went with Agar to replace Stark for the two spinner combination. So for Matt Renshaw, he's definitely in the plans for India. So Australia wanted to see how he would go in this test match. He's out there at the moment, not out, with Usman Khawaja. And he'll be hoping to get some runs whenever play resumes, and looking to push his case for selection in India. But he's definitely in the plans for India. That's why he was selected here. He's been talked about. Not ideal for Matt Renshaw in this test match, obviously being isolated from the rest of the group, and I think everyone knows why. So that's not ideal to come back into the test side after that. But no doubt he'll be relishing the opportunity to get back out there whenever this rain disappears. And he'll be hoping to score runs and get Usman Khawaja to his double century, his Queensland teammate. So you also say, Raj, I think he opened in the Border Gavaskar in 2020-21 Series 2. Am I thinking of someone else? You're thinking about someone else, Raj. You're thinking about Marcus Harris. and Joe Burns. Matt Renshaw didn't play a part in that series. It was Joe Burns who opened the batting with Harris. And then obviously that's because David Warner was injured. And he had that groin problem. So he couldn't play the first 2 test matches of that series. He came back later on in the series. So it was Harris and Burns who opened the batting. Then Burns got dropped. And then obviously Warner came back when he was fit, and Harris kept his spot and opened the batting. But Matt Renshaw didn't play in that series. He played in the India series in 2017. Chandra, hello. Hope you're well. Thanks for joining us. We haven't got much to talk about, really. We haven't got play. It's still raining at the SCG, but we can have a chat at least. Yes, to say Raj, and Pekoski was injured too after Melbourne test. Yeah, that's right, Raj. I forgot about Pekoski. He debuted in Sydney, actually. They dropped Marcus Harris after Melbourne, and they decided to play Will Pekoski. He made his test debut in Sydney, and then he got injured with a shoulder, diving in the field. So then they had to go back to Marcus Harris for the last test at the Gabba. So, yes, Will Pekoski opened the batting in that series. I forgot about Will. Chandra, I'm from Australia. That's where I'm from. Shannon says he joins Dave Warner getting a double century. Yes, if Usman Khawaja can get there. Obviously, this rain needs to stop, and then he will need to get these runs. He's only 5 runs away from a double century, but it will be very good to see Usman Khawaja get a double century. Hasn't got one in his test career thus far, so he'll be hoping to get a double century if play continues today, but it looks unlikely with the rain falling at the moment at the SCG. But he will join, David Warner got a double century in Melbourne, of course, in this series. Marnus Labuschagne, Steve Smith got a double century against the West Indies in Perth. So he'll be the 4th Australian to get a double century this summer. So it'll be pretty good for Usman Khawaja, and good to see him in the runs. It hasn't been a prolific summer for Usman Khawaja. It's been a quiet summer against the West Indies and against South Africa up until this test. But he's done pretty well, Usman Khawaja, a very classy player. Chandra says, I'm from India. Well, great. That's good to hear, Chandra. But I'm guessing you're a massive cricket fan, which is good to see. So we haven't got much news. It's still raining at the SCG, as I mentioned, but we can have a chat. A bit of a reminder of how the game has panned out. Australia won the toss. No surprises to bat first at the SCG on a track that is predicted to take turn and reverse swing. And Australia have batted really well. 4 for 475. Their first innings are still continuing. And Usman Khawaja, 195 not out. And he's the top scorer thus far for Australia. Couple of good contributions. Steve Smith, wonderful century. He scored yesterday on day 2. 104 he made. Marnus Labuschagne made 79, and a brilliant innings from Travis Head yet again, 70 off 59 balls. Travis Head continues to grow with confidence every innings he plays, striking at 118 in his innings. So good to see Travis Head get into the runs. And Matt Renshaw is currently on 5 not out, back into the test side after a long absence. South Africa, they've toiled hard in this test series with the ball. Not really at their best with bat or ball. It was no surprise that they did struggle with the bat in this series, but with the bowling side of things, we expected a lot better from them. Unfortunately, that hasn't been the case. They toiled hard. 2 wickets for Nokia, a wicket for Maharaj and Rabada, no wickets for Janssen and Harmer at this stage. So tough work for South Africa yet again, out in the field for over 130-odd overs. They were in the field for 145 overs in Melbourne and 131 here in Sydney. So they're spending a long time in the field, South Africa. So that's where we're at the moment. Day 3, we washed out first session due to rain, and obviously this second session looks like it will probably get washed out as well. And hopefully we can get some play in the final session. If not, hopefully tomorrow and on day 5. So that's the situation at the match at the moment. Questions for Australia in terms if they do get out there, how many runs they want, what's going to be the strategy in terms of trying to get a result in this match, because it's looking ever so difficult to try and force a result in this match, given the time that's been lost and the rain, which hasn't been good. We don't like to see rain, but unfortunately that happens. And bad light and rain, different variables of the game of cricket. So we just have to put up with it and hope the rain clears. And hopefully we can get some cricket in, because we like to see some cricket. We don't like to see rain at all. So that's been the case at the SCG in recent years. The last few SCG test matches have ended in draws. Most likely this one could end in a draw. We saw in the Ashes last year, it was a drawn test there. Year before against India, 2020-21, was a drawn test, I should say. And the last time a result was achieved at the SCG was when Australia won against New Zealand in 2019-2020. So nothing much happening at the SCG. The covers are still on, and the ground staff not really doing much. They're just waiting for the showers to clear here at the SCG, and it's not looking good at the moment. Rain is falling, and it's falling quite heavily at the SCG. So we haven't got much to talk about. Fingers crossed we can get some cricket today, if not tomorrow. But it's never good whenever there's some rain around. But we can have a bit of a chat here, a little bit, seeing that this is our last live stream watch-along for the Australian Test summer, because this is obviously the last Test match of the Australian summer. And Australia, their next assignment will be against India, and that will be in February. So next month, that's a big series over there in India. And Australia definitely gearing up for a big 2023, which will involve a tour of India, potential WTC final, and the Ashes, of course, to end the year off. Raj says the New Zealand-Pakistan test has got interesting. New Zealand win or draw. I can't bank on Pakistan chasing anything at all, let alone 300 plus target when they're already 2 down. Yes, that's quite interesting. Quite a bold declaration there from Tim Southey, but a very encouraging one. A positive move, looking to try and force a result. New Zealand, pretty much firm favourites to win that test. Pakistan, can they fight and battle out for a draw? Be interesting to see what happens on the final day there. But that's been an interesting series, an interesting match. The first test match ended at a draw due to bad light. Let's hope that we get a result in the second test. But New Zealand have done pretty well to get into a good position there. Thank you for that, Raj. Yes, to say, Raj, the first test, Australia and India, 9th of February at Nagpur. It's going to be an exciting series with the Border Gavaskar Trophy. And that will be coming up very shortly. And Australia will be hoping to tick that off the list and win a series in India with this current group of players. The last time Australia won a series in India was back in 2004. That's a long time ago. And before that, Australia won a series in India in 1969. So very rare to win a test series for Australia and India. They're at a tough place to tour, but definitely a big challenge for the side. And you never know. They could do something special in this test series coming up. Yes, as say Raj This is the least prepared Indian team. Australia has got a chance of winning just because how bad India's preparation is this time around. Dalla Mashala might be a really good chance for a win to Australia. Well, yes, I remember the last series, 2017. They played a test match there at Dalla Mashala. Australia lost that test match. Virat Kohli was out with a shoulder injury, and Ajinkya Rahane was captain, and Kuldeep Yadav took 5 wickets from memory. Not a great test match for Australia after winning the first test of that series in Pune, which they won by 300-odd runs. Steve O'Keefe got 12 wickets for the match, and Steve Smith scored a wonderful century on a pitch that was turning square. Pavaloy, thanks for joining us. You say, are you watching or an eye on the test match between Pakistan and New Zealand? I haven't really watched much of the Pakistan-New Zealand test match or the series in general. Been pretty much watching Australia and South Africa, of course, trying to watch that. Not so much with the Pakistan-New Zealand series, just glanced at the scores from time to time. But a very interesting second test match developing there. Raj says, India lost just 2 test matches in the last decade. If we take since 2010, just lost 4 at home. As I say, Raj, it is really difficult. So this is a really good chance without Jadeja and Pass. It is going to be difficult for India to post big totals. But it's definitely going to be an interesting series, no doubt about that. In India, Australia and India, always a great series. So yeah, it's definitely going to be a interesting series. And who knows? It could be a surprising series. Australia may do well and force a result in that series, but it's definitely going to be a big challenge for the Australian team. But they're definitely up for it. I think a few of the players, Smith, Warner in particular, you would think it's probably their last tour of India. So they would like to tick that off the list and win a test series in India for Australia. As I mentioned, Australia have found it very tough to win in India. They've only won 2 series there, 1969 and 2004. So it's not going to be easy for this current Australian team. But they've got some good players. They're playing some good test cricket. Got a lot of confidence. They've done well this Australian summer. And they'll be hoping to do well in India. But it's definitely going to be a big task, big challenge. No doubt they're up for it and hoping to overcome the challenge ahead of trying to win a test series, let alone a test match in India. But that's starting there shortly. That's going to be exciting, no doubt about that. Hopefully we see a very good competitive series, and no doubt we will. So an update on what's going on at the SCG. Pretty much still the same. Pretty much it's still raining. Covers are on. And not much movement from the ground staff. They're pretty much waiting for the showers to blow over and hopefully clear the SCG. But looking at the weather radar, there's some bands of cloud and showers coming. So prospects for play for the remainder of the day don't look good. But hopefully we can get some play either today or tomorrow on day 4 because we want to see some cricket. Shannon says, hopefully Usman Khawaja can get a double century. Yes, if this rain clears away, he'll be hoping to get the 5 runs and get the double century and tick that off the list. He hasn't got one in Test cricket in his career, so it'll be a special moment for him. He batted really well, makes batting look so easy, Usman Khawaja. It's But some encouraging signs. It's getting a little bit brighter at the SCG. So that's encouraging signs. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get some play to end day 3, and hopefully we can get this game moving again. Australia will be looking to try and get a result in this match. If they do, they book a place in the WTC final. and they'll be hoping to try and force a result in this match. You never know, but I think most people will probably say that this draw will probably happen in Sydney. The last few test matches in Sydney have ended in draws, which is not good. You want to see a result. You want to see a team get a result. But at the moment, the rain making that difficult. So, talking about Australia's WTC prospects, if they pretty much win this game, they're pretty much through to the WTC final. They're pretty much comfortable at the top of the table at the moment, playing some good Test cricket. They've had a pretty good cycle, tough tours to Pakistan and Sri Lanka. They won those series. They won the Pakistan series. They lost. They drew the series in Sri Lanka, best of 2 Test matches. They've done pretty well in the home summer here, winning against the West Indies 2-0, and obviously winning the series against South Africa. So that's pretty good. It's quite interesting to see what happens in that WTC. Whoever will make it to the final. You would think Australia have got 1 foot in the final, and remains to be seen who will be their opponents. South Africa were in a very good position in the top 2. Unfortunately, losing the series to Australia has really dented their chances of going through to a WTC final, which is not good for their prospects in terms of playing in the WTC final. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But still raining at the SCG. Looks a little bit brighter, apparently, from the reports I'm hearing. But the covers are still on. The ground staff are just waiting. And I think everyone's just waiting, hoping to get some play this afternoon. Raj says, yeah, we could have had a 3-1 result in Sydney in 2018-19. If not for the rain, it is really a bummer that the New Year test is the tradition and it almost rains every year. It does. It's just the weather. We can't really control the weather, unfortunately. It just rains. So we have to wait until the rain clears. It's unfortunate, but it's always a great test match. The Sydney test, of course, for not only for the cricket, but for the McGrath Foundation. Of course, Glenn McGrath does tremendous work with the foundation, and the SCG turns pink for over the 5 days. The direct hit, yeah, I'll send the link to you. Direct hit, I'll send that to you now so you can have a chat with us again. It'd be good to have you on. Nothing much happening, so it'd be good to talk to someone. Keep us company for a little while, because it doesn't really look good for the prospects of play today, but at least we can have a chat about cricket. So just going back on the Sydney test, of course, great test as always. Yes, Aran, check your email. I just send you the link. So just check your emails there, and we'll be happy to welcome you on for a bit of a chat. So I've already sent that link, so check your emails there, Aran, if you're listening. Raj, you say you can change the schedule around it. Well, that's the thing, Raj. A lot of people are talking about that. A lot of people are saying, well, we should schedule it either last year in terms of December or November rather than January, because it does rain quite a lot in January this time of year in Sydney. It's been a wet summer in Sydney as well, so it's not ideal. Not ideal conditions. That's just the way it is with cricket. You just got to deal with bad light and rain. It happens. It's frustrating, but I think all of us cricket fans, we're sort of used to it by now that, it's got to rain, and, it's a very frustrating thing to deal with. But that's just the way it goes in cricket. The weather is a big part of the game. And gives me great pleasure to welcome Aran from the Direct Hit again, who joins us again for a bit of a chat.
Hello, Jack. How are you?
How are you?
I'm good. I just need to change my background because I was doing India Sri Lanka, and the background is still that. And now,
Yeah,
yeah,
there we go. That's all right. There we go.
yeah.
That's yeah, frustrating. It's rain.
Ah,
It's
can't
never a
do,
good feeling whenever there's rain,
can't
especially
do
in
what
Sydney. There's always rain.
is you can say wet summer in Australia, isn't it?
It has been. It was a wet summer during the T20 World Cup as well, and yeah, it's nothing we can do about it. We can't control the weather, so we
Uh,
just have to wait. Unfortunately.
yeah.
John, hello, John. You say, as a Sydney sider, I apologise for this weather. My ritual sacrifice obviously isn't working. The days leading up to the tests were glorious. And thank you, John. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, well,
Happens.
it's
I mean, it happens.
that
What?
happens. It's probably Sydney's the new England, probably.
Ah,
The rain this time of year. It's often bad in England, but
I, it's a saying. It's a saying. I don't know if I've made it up, but I like English weather is like your girlfriend. You don't know what to expect.
mm,
Literally, so
you don't
that's.
know what to expect with the weather. That's the thing. But the weather's a big part of the game of cricket.
Oh
It's
yes,
a variable, so
oh yes.
the
It's a
game depends on
variable.
conditions. And,
It's a tangible variable. Let's say.
hmm. Raj says it is a New England in terms of weather. Yes, it is. It is that bad. Raj says yes, it is that bad. But it's nothing we can do. You can either schedule it or reschedule it. You
You
never
can't
know what's going
you
to
can't
happen on that
actually
particular
you
day.
can't actually I think reschedule it because once the ACB and the ICC get together, it's already scheduled way ahead of its time. So that's really difficult to chunk it around, and because it's not only the players. Sometimes people have got to remember the
Mm,
broadcasters, the broadcasting team,
yes,
the ground staff. They all are involved, no? So especially the financial side uh, in the tickets.
yes.
You can't really return and say the crowd that hello sir, you've got a ticket to the SCG test match, just take a flight and then move to the MCG.
The calendar is so compacted. Now, the
Yes.
good news I can report on is that the ground staff are moving and they're getting the super stoppers on the covers. There's some discussions with the umpires and the ground staff.
That's good.
They're talking about a possible
Resumption.
restart time or just having a look at the radar. It looks promising that we've got some
How much
movement.
time left till the cutoff for the abandoning of the game of the day? How much?
Well, we are approaching that time of the afternoon where we're closing in on stumps. It's the last session. Didn't get any play in the first or second session.
It's an early tea,
So they're
so
just
it's an
talking
early.
about,
So yeah.
if there's any breaks in the weather, just talking about those things. So there's some discussions happening, which is good, I suppose, in a good or
Yeah,
bad way.
maybe they are
Only
just general
prospects.
discussions. These are sometimes these fool us a lot, Jack. Can't really go on these discussions if the umpires are out there. But it was disappointing to see India go down today uh, to Sri Lanka. Yeah, good for the series, but yeah. But a new team, fresh, young approach. Very patient with them. Very patient with this new side.
Yes,
So,
that was an interesting match as well. Speaking of T20 cricket, what a match it was between the
woof,
Adelaide Strikers and
woof.
the Hobart Hurricanes. Unbelievable.
And the headline will be short hits it long, wouldn't it? That would
It was it was a brilliant innings. I support the Adelaide Strikers, and I thought, well, yeah, we can give it a crack. I don't think we'll get there, but
not
Short and Lynn's partnership was key, and Hose and his partnership was Short just took it home. And the Hurricanes just struggled a bit. Fahim bowling some full tosses, and
he's
his
not
overs were quite expensive.
he,
So,
he himself isn't sure what phase is he bowling, and Shadab going back is a huge blow to
mm,
the Hurricanes. Can't really explain in words because a leg spinner is asset, and their form has been Punjab Kings esque, if I want to say. Won one, lost one, lost one. So that's basically their form this season, so which has been topsy turvy. So
mm,
yeah,
yes. John says the Sydney Test used to be played on the 2nd of January.
Oh yeah,
Because this
absolutely,
summer
yes.
is so packed, they had to give the players some more time to recover. Yeah, they've done that over the last couple of seasons. I've noticed that it didn't used to start on the 2nd of January.
This
John
is so
stated there.
true. This is so true. On the first day of the year, I was running the schedule in my mind like, okay, today is the first. When's the next cricketing game? And I have thought, okay, second is the test match, right? But then I opened Crick Buzz and I was like, oh shoot, the game is on the 4th. We are so accustomed to the 2nd of January, the New Year's test. But yeah, it's been changed.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
it's always a tradition, but many people are discussing whether or not you should move it from this time, because the last few test matches in Sydney have been draws. The last result was when Australia defeated New Zealand by a big margin, and that's where Labuschagne got his double century. That was back in 2019-20. And the test matches since then have all been draws. Either in the case of the India test match, that was nice weather. It was sunny and it was quite warm and hot. So that's a bit of an outliner. But last year's test for the Ashes was bad light and rain, and this test match against South Africa is bad light and rain as well. So there's some discussions about that amongst people every year. I don't think anyone's surprised by the weather.
These are the discussions every year. In Sydney, imagine what the discussions are in England, eh?
John says, I think the last 5 of 6 tests have been draws. Yep,
Something
they
like
have.
That. Something like that. Exactly.
They have. So, and it's the most. Well, the SCG is the
most washout. I can tell you. I can tell you 25 test matches or days out of 102. Something like that. That's the record. That's what I know. So, yeah.
I did have a look at the table, and it is the highest ground when it comes to days being abandoned in a test match, over 25. And the one with the lowest is Perth at the Wacker with 0, because it doesn't rain over there in the west during the summer because it's quite hot. Adelaide has only got 2, and Melbourne low number as well. But Sydney's always the highest one.
But Melbourne was crazy this T20 World Cup as well. It was crazy. See that
well, then, some news. It looks like tea has been taken.
That's
so
what I was telling
you. Officially, they've called tea now. So that's what the discussion was. So we'll take tea now and see how we go for the remainder of the day.
Another interesting match, another interesting game about to begin. Like 319 runs, Pakistan, and none for 2. So they are looking like down in the dumps, literally. And yeah, I think they're gonna lose badly this one as well.
Yes, that was quite a interesting test match there between Pakistan and New Zealand. And that's shaping up to be an exciting test match, and hopefully for New Zealand they can force a result.
Just a second. Hello?
So, so the news is from the SCG is that Iran leaves us for a moment. I'll bring him back in when he's done with whatever he's doing there. We can have a chat, a discussion about the summer. What are your favourite moments from this Australian summer? A summer full of great performances with both bat and ball for Australia and for them as a team. They've played really well. So it's been a summer full of ups, full of downs at times as well. I think we expected a much competitive series against South Africa. That hasn't been the case. So it's been an interesting summer. So let us know in the comments your thoughts about the Australian Test summer. What did you like about it? What were your favourite moments? And what did you like about the summer? Love to hear what you have to say on that. So the news here from the SCG, tea has been taken early. So the umpires have said we're going to have some refreshments with tea. So that's the news from the SCG. So tea has been taken early, and we hope that the last session we can get some play. If not, hopefully the weather is better on day 4 and 5. So that's the news at the SCG. Tea is being taken, and there was some movement out there on the covers with the ground staff mopping up the water. So let's hope, fingers crossed, we get some play in the last session of the day. John says maybe swap the dates, Sydney with the Adelaide Test. John says, I assume the weather is good in Adelaide at the moment. Absolutely, John. It's wonderful, wonderful. 30 degrees, no rain in sight, nice and sunny. The Adelaide Test did used to be played in the new year, of course. It used to be played on Australia Day back in the day. And then over the years, that's changed, obviously, due to scheduling and all that. So you could do that. A lot of people have spoken about that. You could move it, swap the dates around with the Adelaide Test, or you could play it in November or December. Some people have been arguing that. So, yeah, very interesting discussion that we have every year about the Sydney Test. It's always a test match that is affected by rain, but it's nothing you can do. You can't control the weather. You can't change the weather. So we just have to be patient and just wait until the rain disappears. So, yeah, very frustrated at the moment. But Raj says they could make the pink ball test as the New Year's test at Adelaide. That would be something to get behind. They could. It'd be interesting to see how Cricket Australia go about planning next summer in terms of the schedule, the itinerary. I do believe the West Indies and Pakistan are out next summer. Pakistan to play 3 test matches. Not South Africa. The West Indies to play 2 test matches. So it'd be interesting to see how they'll schedule the summer around for next summer. It'd be interesting to see that, but obviously Boxing Day, New Year's, always the big test matches on the Australian calendar. So you would hope they could do something to try and mitigate the effect that the rain has every summer. So John says this summer the tests were really compacted together. As you said, Adelaide was over the Australia Day long weekend. Yeah, they were close together. It's just the way the calendar is these days. You're going to have test matches close together. And that's what cricket boards tend to do. They pack in the test matches back to back. Not really much opportunities for rest, unlike the old days. But, yeah, it's just the way it is in this modern times with the calendar, the amount of cricket being played. After this test match, Australia go to India in February. So it's a short turnaround. Not like in the old days where you had longer breaks and cricket was not heavily compacted when it came to the international schedule. The game was different back then. You only had test matches and ODIs. T20 cricket wasn't around. And, that was a lot easier to deal with. Whereas now with T20 cricket, 3 formats, world events, all cricket happening around the world, domestic T20 leagues, it's very difficult to find something that's going to work as in terms of the international calendar. Raj says Sydney with the start of the summer will have more to offer in terms of its pitch as well, so we don't get a boring pitch. I don't think people in Brisbane will agree with you there, Raj, because they would like to have the first test match at the Gabba. It's usually the thing with Australian summers that the first test match of the summer usually falls at the Gabba to begin a summer. So it'll be interesting to see what they do, Cricket Australia. But, fans get frustrated because it rains. You go to the cricket, rains in Sydney, which happens. So it's just something we have to deal with. It's something with cricket that you have to deal with in terms of weather and rain and all that. It's just something that you have to deal with. But we just have to be patient. You say, Raj, just imagine a 4-day first-class match in between the tests. Yeah, that used to happen. You used to have tour matches in between test matches. Used to play some first-class cricket as well, but not these days in Australia. It's tends to be a difficult sort of thing to work around, really. Give teams preparation, some time to prepare. But it's a vastly different game now, cricket, to what it was back then. So, just having a look at the weather radar. It looks still a bit patchy with rain, some clouds. But tea is being taken. And fingers crossed we get some play in the evening session. But at the moment, still raining at the SCG. But we can still have our conversation here. We'll be here for a little while, just having a bit of a chat. About all things cricket. So it'll be good to hear what people have to say on the game and also probably this series or this test match. It's been quite an interesting Australian summer, that's for sure. And quite an enjoyable summer as well. Watching it, it's been pretty good. And a bit sad in a way that this is the last test match of the summer. But for Australia, it's definitely going to be a big 2023 full of challenges. Tour in India, potentially a WTC final, and the Ashes will be very interesting in terms of how England are going about that with Baz Ball and all that. So it'll be interesting year for Australia. John says they've recently relaid the turf on the square. That's why it looks so rough and patchy. Yes, they have. There's been a lot of traffic on the SCG, not only for cricket, but also for AFL, football, and also rugby as well on the ground. So a lot of traffic there, and understandable that they had to replace certain areas of the outfield and also the square itself. But very frustrating with this rain. Hopefully it will clear up, but fingers crossed that we get some play in the last session of the day, because it's been a very enjoyable test match. Certainly for Australia. South Africa struggling again with the ball, but for Australia, Usman Khawaja, Steve Smith scoring centuries, Marnus Labuschagne, good contribution for him of 70 that he made. Got a really good delivery from Nortje, one that just leapt off the surface a bit, caught the edge of the bat, and he was disappointed at getting out that way, but it was a very good ball that he got. Raj says Australia is going to be in India for about 4 to 5 months, this Border Gavaskar series. Then the ODI series, the IPL, then again an ODI series in September, and the World Cup in October, November. Yes, I completely forgot about the World Cup. Yes, absolutely. The World Cup in India this year, towards the end of the year. So it's going to be an interesting 50-over World Cup in India. And that's going to be a good tournament, as it always is. Competition. Can England go back-to-back, or will it be a different winner this time around in 2023? But no doubt England playing some good cricket. And they're playing some good Test cricket at the moment as well. So quite interesting to see how they go about this 50-over World Cup. And it's been a while since we've had a World Cup in India. Back in 2011 was the last one. And that's when it was in Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. So be interesting to see what happens in 2023. Definitely going to be an exciting T20. 50-over World Cup, sorry. Raj says maybe even 6 months. Yes, well, it's definitely going to be a long time for Australia, definitely on that tour of India. They're going to spend a few weeks there for the Test series, ODIs, to follow the Test series. And then obviously later back in the year when they go back to India for the World Cup. So definitely a busy year for Australia. It'd be interesting to see who will captain the ODI side. Most likely Pat Cummins will not captain some of those games in India, I don't think, with an eye to what's ahead for Australia in terms of Test cricket, the WTC final and obviously the Ashes. So most likely it will be someone else who will be captaining the side for that ODI series. That's what you'll expect with a bowler being captain, of course. Raj says, my internet's going off now, so I'll take my leave. Yep, no worries, Raj. Thanks for joining us, as always. I hope you have a very good day. And thanks for joining us, everyone. Disappointing, frustrating that we haven't got any cricket, but we're hoping for some better news in the last session. So tea's been taken. Let's hope we can get some play in the remainder of the day. But definitely frustrating, especially when the rain comes this time of year. Always in Sydney, very frustrating. But we're hoping for some better news, hopefully. So as we wait for any potential news about whether day 3 is going to be abandoned, or we get some play or anything like that, we'll continue our conversation for a little while. John says, I assume Smith is in the ODI team. I'll assume he'll be the alternative captain. He would be, but he may take a rest as well from that ODI series as well, John, given that Australia's got a packed schedule in terms of Test cricket and a lot of cricket being played in 2023. So it could be someone else. So maybe Steve Smith, Cummins will take a rest in that ODI series in India and someone else will be captain. As we saw with the ODI series that Australia played against England later on, or a few months ago in this summer, I should say, it was Josh Hazlewood who was captain. So, it won't be surprising if someone else who hasn't captained before may captain that ODI series. But that's down the track. That's after the Test series in India. Gurav says, could Uzi, it could be Uzi's last crack at 200. Well, you never know. He may have some opportunities to score some 200. Another 200 in Test cricket, but definitely a perfect opportunity for him to score 200. He only needs 5 runs away, so I think Usman Khawaja will be hoping that this rain disappears so he can get out there, get the 5 runs and get 200. But he's batted superbly. He really has in this Test match, and he's had a lean summer, Usman Khawaja. But good to see him in the runs for this summer. John says Head would be the other choice. Yes, he would be. He'll be the other alternative choice if Cummins or Smith is going to be rested from that ODI series. Definitely Travis Head would be a good choice, and obviously captain South Australia. So he'll be definitely ready, if required, to be captain of the ODI side. Sanju, welcome. You say, what is the result with this match? Well, with all the time being taken out, it doesn't help when majority of today's being washed out. Looks like it is probably going to get washed out. So that's a day of cricket that has been abandoned due to rain, which is frustrating for everyone. Frustrating for both teams wanting to get out there, play some cricket, of course. I think Australia would be more motivated to try and get a result in this test match because a 3-0 series win is a pretty good result. And given that the WTC calculations, if Australia win this game, they're pretty much guaranteed a spot in the final. So at the moment, it doesn't look good in terms of how will Australia try and get South Africa out twice. They've got enough runs on the board, you would think. They won't declare, if they do come back tomorrow, the questions will be, okay, if the weather's good tomorrow, how long do Australia want to bat on for? Looks like they're going to bat once. Follow-on could be an equation here. Is the pitch, has it deteriorated enough for 2 spinners to be effective? There has been some spin, not much. There's some reverse swing that the South African bowlers got, but it's a bit damp and the ball will get wet on the outfield, so they will quash that. It'll be hard for the spinners to grip it, so it's definitely going to be a challenge, but that's what Test cricket's about. It's about challenge, about facing challenges and trying to overcome them. So no doubt Australia will try everything they can to try and force a result in this match. Because you've got to try. You just can't give up and say, well, you know, it's probably going to be a draw, but we can give it a try, I think. And no doubt Australia will be doing that. South Africa will be happy because they don't have to go out there and bat, and their batting has struggled throughout this series. But, yeah, no doubt it's going to be difficult. But we shall see. There's still 2 days to go. Most likely, as John points out here, I can't see them getting back on today. Well, it doesn't look likely. So there's 2 days left. Opportunities for Australia to try and create something. Be interesting to see what happens over the next 2 days, day 4 and day 5. It'll be interesting to see what happens there. Garaf says South Africa would be happy with the rain. If not for the rain, they would have another embarrassing defeat. Well, it hasn't been a great series from South Africa. They've really struggled. We knew that their batting would struggle against Australia's bowlers, and that wasn't a surprise. I think everyone expected that. But we didn't really expect their bowlers to struggle. You know, they've had a pretty good attack. All of them bring different set of skills, different set of abilities. Unfortunately, they're just being below the mark in this series. They haven't really performed well consistently with the ball. I think the only one who has is Anrich Nortje. You know, he's been the only one that's played really well in terms of bowling well for South Africa in this series. I think he's been the best bowler South Africa's had in the series thus far. Rabada's been underwhelming. Jansen's showed some promise and he's bowled really well at times. Ngidi looked a little bit short of a gallop. I think he was a little bit underdone in terms of conditioning and fitness. It didn't really look good in Melbourne. He struggled a bit there. Maharaj has struggled. You've got to have a good spinner in Australia to take wickets and hold up an end like Nathan Lyon does. He wasn't able to do that. He got a wicket of Steve Smith. And as we welcome back Iran, welcome back.
Thank you.
As I was saying, didn't really have a good spinner in Maharaj. So they've been underwhelming, South Africa, and I think they'll be happy that the rain's falling at the moment. But
Yeah.
Australia will be looking to try and create something in this match. You've got to try. We shall see over the next few days.
Yeah, but looks highly unlikely, the scenario.
Yes, with all the time being lost in the rain, it makes it harder for Australia. But, they'll try. They'll give it a go, and they'll try and make something out of this, I would think. Because you got to try. You don't know until you try. You never know. South Africa's batting's been poor. They're susceptible to a batting collapse. So it's not out of the questions yet, but a difficult one. John says, I found it a bit negative that Elgar refused the umpire's offers to continue with the spinners twice when the light was low. Yes, John, I did see that. I did hear about that. Look, I can understand why he said we didn't want to bowl the spinners because, they've got quicks. Nortje is most likely to take a wicket. I think Maharaj is probably the one out of the two spinners with Harmer who's playing in this test. I think Harmer's the better spinner of the two.
Harmer has been way better than Maharaj.
And most likely to take a wicket. So I can understand that. And look, they're 2-0 down in the series. They've been out in the field for a long time. They've struggled in all departments. So I can understand why Dean Elgar said, we're going to bowl the quicks, but the umpire said, no, you have to bowl spinners because the light's getting bad. So it is a bit negative, but it just shows the mindset that South Africa are in because and Dean Elgar hasn't had a great series as captain either. His tactics have been bemusing, I would say.
Yeah,
quite interesting.
Bemusing, surprising. We can use different words on that.
John says Harmer looked good. Yeah, I think he's probably the most effective spinner out of him and Maharaj.
Being an offie myself, I can rate him 9 on 10. He was good.
He's got a lot of experience, over 800 first-class wickets.
Oh, yeah. Isn't he the same Simon Harmer that captained a Blast team to win? If I'm not wrong.
Not sure on that.
The Bears.
Could have done. I'm not sure on that. But he did bowl well in this test match. With Maharaj, he just bowls at the same pace and the same line and the same trajectory. Whereas with Harmer, he varies his variations, tosses it up above the eye line, varies
he's the same.
Dip on the ball and bounce. So Maharaj lacked that. So as a spinner, when you come to Australia, it's a tough place to bowl spin. It's quite surprising. Nathan Lyons
shouldn't be for finger spinners. They get that assistance, that bit of slight bounce in the wicket, being a finger spinner, and you have more control as a finger spinner rather than a wrist spinner. So you should not. And Maharaj has been found wanting. He hasn't had a plan B. Warner has gone after him. Literally everyone has gone after him. You can't really pick out one batsman. So Maharaj was supposed to do the holding job, but unfortunately he's leaked runs from every corner of every ground. So they played at. So he's done an underwhelming job, to say the least.
Yes, John says, surprise, we haven't seen more of Harmer over the years. Yeah, John, I did hear about that. He had some problems with Cricket South Africa, and he went over to England to play for a few years and as a Colpack player. And now that's gone now, obviously. So he's come back.
And I can confirm that he's the same that led Birmingham Bears he was the captain of the Birmingham Bears. So, yeah.
So that's why we haven't seen a lot of him over the years, Simon Harmer, because of that reason. So, an update on the situation. Well, I can officially say that play has been abandoned for the day. We got confirmation of that. So, that was expected. Obviously, the rain was persistent. So let's hope that the rain stays away tomorrow on day 4 and 5. 2 days remaining, 196 overs in the test match. We'll start an extra half an hour early tomorrow to make up time for the loss of time today. So disappointing. That's just the way it is. Australia will be hoping to try and force a result in this match. It's going to be a big challenge, but you never know. We've still got 2 days. South Africa's batting's poor, fragile, susceptible to a batting collapse. You never know if the pitch deteriorates, a bit more traffic.
But for that to
spinners
happen,
can come into the game, reverse swing, you never know.
Australia can't bat second for too long. That's the only thing that they need to keep in mind. If they get South Africa, they can't bat second for too long. So
yeah, Australia will most likely bat once in this match and potentially force a follow-on if they can, if they bowl South Africa out within the follow-on target. So they'll be thinking about how can we still win this game. South Africa, if they come out there, how they're going to go with the bat, mentally tired, fatigued, physically and mentally. So it'll be a big challenge for them to try and get out there with the bat and face the Australian bowlers once again. John says, feel sorry for Renshaw. He's been in the naughty corner for 3 days. Well, he has. Obviously, not ideal for him, but we all know why, which is unfortunate. You know, he's come back into the side and that happens. So, disappointing for Matt Renshaw, but good to see him back in the side. He got his opportunity, got his call up. So hopefully, if play resumes tomorrow, he can definitely go back out there and get Kawaja to a 200 because he only needs 5 runs away from that. But so if you just joined us, thanks for joining us, everyone. Not much to speak of. Play has been abandoned for the day. We're going to come back tomorrow and do it all again if we can, weather permitting. But very disappointing. But we can still have a chat amongst everyone here, like we did in the last stream that we did.
Yeah, I just want to pop up a question to everyone. Like, new leagues are starting. SA20, who are you supporting in that? There are new franchises, and the ILT20 in Dubai. And just for information, those stats are not going to be counted in any player's career or officially. So the ILT20 stats, they haven't got the permission, so those are not going to be counted. So yeah. Jack, who are you rooting for in the South African League?
I haven't really paid much attention to it, to be honest. I've been busy with other stuff and planning some other episodes of the podcast, which are coming up there shortly. So I haven't really paid much attention to it. I've heard about it. I've seen what the teams are. It's starting shortly. So I haven't really paid much attention to it, to be honest. So be interesting to see how that goes. New league in South Africa that seem to be popping up quite a lot around the world now, these T20 leagues.
Because the Indian contingent will also be there, the fan base, because all the teams are IPL based. So MI Cape Town, Joburg Super Kings, then you have Durban Super Giants, which is obviously Lucknow Super Giants, and Pretoria Capitals is similar to Delhi Capitals, Par Royals, Rajasthan Royals, and Sunrisers Eastern Cape. So that brings the Indian fan base in, and both the IPL franchise and the South African franchise are connected on social media. So that brings a good fan base for the league. So that should be good. I hope it gives South African domestic cricket some resurgence, because it looks in a sorry state, the domestic structure in South Africa. That's why you're seeing these guys rollicking over in Australia. They don't have any test cricket behind them. So yeah, let's see how this goes.
John says Mark Waugh thought Australia should have gone in with 5 batsmen and used the extra bowler. Yeah, it was quite interesting what sort of combination they'll come up with. So they've gone in with 6 batters, and they've gone in with Agar as the extra spinner. So therefore, Scott Boland had to be taken out. But Australia wanted to try and pick a team that would be similar to a team or an 11 they will pick in India. So, it's very handy to have Cameron Green in the side, because he can bowl fast and he can bowl.
But now he can't, right?
Up.
But now he can't until April 13th, something like that.
So that's why Cameron Green is such a valuable asset to have in the side, because of that balance that he provides with his bowling and his batting. Whereas in this test match, you pretty much got more spinners than medium paces or any. Well, Marnus can bowl some medium pace if required. He was practicing in the nets.
Awesome.
So, yeah, interesting selection, but that's what they've gone with, and they've chosen the 11 that they thought is better suited for these conditions. We shall see when Australia get their opportunity to bowl how much of an effect it will be. Yes, to say, John, too many small T20 leagues going on. Yeah,
that's why I wanted to ask. I think will the BBL get affected by this because of the crowding of the players?
The BBL will be a little bit because of international players, of course. Like some of the T20 leagues that are happening at this time. You got one in Dubai, I think, and you got one in South Africa. So that doesn't help. So players have to go over there. Faf du Plessis playing in the South African League. So all the South African players are playing there. And he was playing for the Scorchers in the big BBL. So he's now gone back. So, yeah, it will affect it, as it does for every competition around the world. Yeah. But the BBL is going to be shorter next year from 2024 onwards because they've announced a new deal with the television rights and all that stuff. So the BBL is going to be shorter. I think it's going to be 40 matches from currently 61.
And the IPL is
many people have been calling out for a lot of years.
And the IPL is going to stretch from 74 this year to 90. And there was a stage last year, BBL had 61, IPL had 60 games. So, yeah.
So, well, the IPL is different to any other T20 league. It's quite popular, and it's growing year by year. And
I think it's like a brand value. For example, if you bring in a new burger chain and you say you compare it to McDonald's, doesn't make any sense, right? Because it's established. It's IPL is established. Even for that matter, for example, some XYZ league comes in Australia. Someone tries to operate it, but it will be difficult because Big Bash is already there. So that kind of thing, with these leagues.
Yeah, it's the way of cricket, I'm afraid. They're here to stay, which is just the way cricket's going at the moment, T20 cricket. And these leagues are always popping up. So it's just something that we had to deal with, I suppose. But that's the way it is. So if you just joined us, the news from the SCG isn't great. Play has been abandoned. So we'll be hoping to come back tomorrow and hope that we have a brighter day. John says Fox has signed for the next 8 years. David Warner
will commentate at some point in his future. He said that.
Yes, he did. So that's his career opportunity after cricket. So,
the bull.
Well, we haven't got much to speak about this test match. Just a recap of what's happened with the scores. Usman Khawaja is currently not out, 195. Matt Renshaw on 5. Australia 4 for 475 after 131 overs. In a pretty good position. Good runs on the board. Be interesting to see how they will go tomorrow with the bat in terms of trying to set up a potential victory if they can in this test match. So the most likely result could be a draw, and that'll be the end of that. But Australia will be trying to create something if they can to win this test match.
Yeah, something like if possible.
But for South Africa, they'll be hoping the rain keeps pouring because it hasn't been a great tour for them, and some rethinking to do after this tour.
Yeah.
Steve. Hello, Steve. Hope you're well. Thanks for joining us. You say, do you think this Australian side is getting close to being one of the all-time great sides? It's so hard to compare different eras, different teams.
Yes,
The team of the 90s, team of the 2000s, with Ponting and all those greats were good. Yeah, I think this team could be the best that we've had in this era, Steve. I would think that. I think, great bowling attack. You got Cummins, Stark, Lyon, Hazelwood, who have been good for many, many years. And you've got a great batting lineup, with Smith and Labuschagne now, who are bursting many records and breaking many records. David Warner.
I think you need to
been there
look
for a long time, so it is
Yeah.
shaping up to be one of the best Australian teams that we've had in this era, this current era of Australian cricket.
I think you need to go back 5, 6, 7, 8 years and just see what year was it that this team started to form. As in, what was the period this team had played a couple of 3 to 4 games matches together. So that meant that the nucleus had been formed. You can say Tim Payne was there when Stark, Hazelwood, uh, uh, Cummins, and Lyon. This is the attack that formed together, and they played pretty consistently. And just Alex Carey coming behind the stumps. Rest was pretty like same. But we need to also count in the 2 year ban. If we are saying it is one of the greatest, we need to see the ban as well. Smith and Warner were not there for quite some time. So yes, it would be one of the best Australian Test teams in Australian history, to be honest. But all time, I as a neutral fan, I am a bit skeptical, as Jack said. It's like comparing Virat and Sachin. I mean, apples and oranges. It's very difficult. I mean, stats are there to say, but stats are just numbers. So yeah.
Yeah, it is very difficult. But you would say in this current era, they are definitely probably the best team that we've had over the years, because ever since the great team that included, Gilchrist, Warner, McGrath, and all those guys, Lee, Ponting, and then Hayden Langer. Australia went through a period of transition and struggled for a time in those years. So it's a good team. I think the way that Pat Cummins has captained the side is pretty good. He seems a natural leader. He seems to get the best out of his team, and I sense that this team's a happy, cohesive unit, and they're playing some good cricket. We've seen that this summer. So a lot of players who have done pretty well. And
their litmus test is in February. Okay. If they're able to scale India, I would count them as the greatest, because remember the great war team that came in '01 couldn't do it. So if these guys do it, they will be the greatest. That's for sure. Because no one has ever done it. If you do it for the first time, well, you are on there, So that's that's the main thing, to be called the greatest.
Well, yes, well, that's definitely the big test for this Australian team, to win in India. So that's, but also to win the Ashes in England as well, which is another thing that they want to tick off as well. But I do feel that this year for Australia is so important. It could be a year full of achievements and full of very good performances if they can string it together. If they win in India, WTC final potentially, and then the Ashes, then that will be a pretty good year.
ODI World Cup?
And a World Cup as well. Yeah, I forgot about that. 50 over World Cup as well. That's the thing. That's the thing with this Australian team. If you ask the players, what would you rather want to achieve? Would you want to win an Ashes series in England or win a series in India? That's, some
Ashes series any day. All these
Ashes. Of course. But no doubt they'll be hoping to do both this year, hopefully. But thanks for your question, Steve. I hope that's answered it for you. John says, Skull, Warner, and Junior. What a combination. It certainly would be a good combination there, John. Yes, to say, John, certainly a happier and cohesive team. No panic, getting the DRS reviews right, good tactics in the field and bowling. Yes, it's pretty much been a good summer with bat and ball. But I sense that this Australian team is on the rise, and with Pat Cummins at the helm, I know people disagree with his style of leadership in terms of how he's leading the team, but I think he's doing an okay job, and not easy for a fast bowler being captain. But no doubt Pat Cummins would like to tick off a few things on his list of things to achieve as Australian Test captain, but also as a team in general, winning in India, winning the Ashes, WTC, and maybe a 50-over World Cup. But you would say there's tours away are key for Australia. It's definitely going to be a big year. I can't wait to cover it. Can't wait to talk about it on the podcast, and can't wait. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah,
definitely a lot of long days in terms of watching from different parts of the world, especially for the Ashes, long hours. Early in the morning for 5 tests, it's
not that early.
Not
in the
easy.
morning. The Ashes fits perfectly for us because, like in Canada, even starts at 6 or 7, so sounds good with the Ashes, and it's holiday time then, and yeah, probably like during March. April, we would be busy with the Punjab franchise since we are like into that. So we'll be busy with the IPL during that time. But Australia will be like what are Australians doing during the IPL, Jack? April, May, June. Is it the off season? Pretty much.
Well, the summer finishes in the domestic summer finishes in March. So we're nearly there. After that, not much cricket. Pretty much everyone goes their own ways. Off season or just time to settle down a bit. Players who play in England go over to England, play county cricket in that time. So, yeah, not much really for some of the cricketers. Usually a quiet period. John says, apart from India, win the Ashes away. Yes, and Australia didn't do that last time. It was 2-2, and they really should have won that series. If it wasn't for Tim Payne bowling first at the Oval, that wasn't a good decision to make there. But, oh well, that's just the way it goes. But hopefully this time we can get the job done. No worries, Steve. John says, Ashes win away and an honourable draw in India. That could be achievable. I think if Australia win 1 test, I think that's good. And I think if they can win 2, that's a bonus. And if they can win the series, win 3, that'll be even better.
Their best chances in Dharamshala, their worst chances in Delhi. So,
I remember the Dharamshala test, 2017, we didn't win there.
Yes.
Kuldeep Yadav got 5 wickets on that surface, and Ajinkya Rahane was captain because Virat Kohli injured his shoulder.
Exactly.
Yes. But at least we won in Pune.
Yeah.
By a big margin. 300 runs. Okay. Smith made a century, and Steve O'Keefe got 12 wickets.
Fox took the wickets there.
But the Bengaluru test wasn't a great
Bengaluru test was like Ishant Sharma versus Steve Smith, all those.
Yes, with the reviews, DRS. And Nathan Lyon got 8 wickets, I suppose. He bowled really well with his off spinners. So,
I always remember that delivery to Sachin Tendulkar. That was a classic off spin dismissal, which he bowled in 11-12, something like that. Michael Clarke was the captain on tour. He got a ton in Chennai. So that tour was also a fascinating one when they came here.
Yeah. Yeah, well, seeing what Australia did in Pakistan and Sri Lanka, more so in Sri Lanka than Pakistan, based
They'll
on
be
the
confident.
conditions.
They'll be
They
confident.
showed some good signs in Sri Lanka in those conditions with the spin. Pakistan obviously different because it doesn't really turn as much over there,
Oh,
but they're still pretty. They still
no.
played okay there, and they won the series. So, some encouraging signs for Australia on the subcontinent. Hopefully, they will.
It's not the it's not the batsmen, but the fast bowlers who do the hard yards. Those are the ones who sustain in the subcontinent, and I think Australians, they know how to do the hard yards. So that's the important thing.
John says if they win against India, the Ashes, WTC, and the ODI World Cup, it would be the best 2 years for us I've seen in decades. Probably will. It will be a very successful year for Australia. It's such a big year. If Australia can be able to tick off those series, and especially ODI World Cup as well, which is
Even
later in the
for
year in India.
even for India, if we get either we haven't won in it's been a decade. 2013 was the last we won an ICC thing. So yeah, 2 ICC potential trophies on the line, plus the Asia Cup for India. So with the new T20 team and the full strength squad back in the ODIs, India are also aiming for a better 2023 because 2022 was rubbish for India to say the least with the results they had.
Yeah. But definitely a big year for Australia this year. I can't wait to see what Australia can do, but they'll be hoping to try and get some cricket here in this last test against South Africa. Steve, you say, do Australia have a decent spinner? I don't know about because Lyon can't be expected to do all the work in India. India have half a dozen quality spinners to choose from. Yes, they do. They got Ashwin, Axel Patel, they got Kuldeep Yadav. They got a lot of spinners. Jadeja, if he's fit.
He'll be fit by then.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he's going to do a lot of work, Nathan Lyon.
He has to take the load. So
he has to do what he did in Sri Lanka and in Pakistan. Bowl a lot of overs, build up pressure from one end, and hope to spin and get the ball to spin and turn and get some wickets. No doubt he'll do that. You've got Mitchell Swepson, you've got Ashton Agar, you've got Todd Murphy who's being talked about. I don't think they'll go with Todd Murphy, but he will be probably the potential successor in the future to Nathan Lyon because he bowls similar to Nathan Lyon. They're similar bowlers, but you can't play two off spinners in tandem because it's just it's the same. So you've got to have some variety in the attack. You either got to have a left arm spinner or you got to have a wrist spinner that can, add that variation. So it'll be interesting. That's why they played Ashton Agar in this test match as a bit of a tester for what sort of 11 or combination they'll have in India. So it'll be interesting, Steve. I'm not sure what they'll do there, but as you mentioned here, Steve, last time I saw Swepson, he was bowling at one least 1 4-ball and over, so maybe not him.
No, Swepson. No, I don't see Swepson doing that well in India. First trip, I think, if he goes.
Well, he was there on the last tour. Didn't play in the last tour in 2017. I know a lot of people talked him up, and then he got his opportunity in Pakistan and struggled, of course. But those pitches in Pakistan are not conducive to spin. They don't turn as much as you will get in Sri Lanka and Pakistan. He did struggle a bit. He did bowl the full toss delivery in every over he bowled, half trackers and all that, as you do with a leg spinner. So it's not an easy craft. He can definitely, I think he'll be in the plans. I think he'll definitely be spoken about. Or they bring him or Agar, or they bring someone else, or Australia's got some other spinning options as well. You've got Labuschagne, you've got Head, you got Steve Smith, who bowled some leg spinners in the last test and got the wicket of Rabada to win the test for Australia in Melbourne. So, but you don't want to really tire them out because they've got to bat and they've got to bat long and big for Australia to win this series. You know, they're going to be important batters. So you can't really rely on them a lot for part-time spin. Every now and again's fine, but you need two frontline spinners. And Nathan Lyon's one of them. It's either going to be Swepson or Agar, I think. Todd Murphy's been talked about, but I'm not sure if he's quite ready. He's only 22, 23, I think. He's still learning his craft. So it'll be interesting to see who they select for this second spinner in the squad. But definitely Nathan Lyon has to bowl a lot of overs because he's such durable, Nathan Lyon. No wonder he's, stayed fit and, the longevity. Something to admire from Nathan Lyon because he's bowled a lot of overs, especially in the subcontinent, and doesn't break down, which is good. So he's going to bowl a lot of overs in these 4 test matches and hopefully for Australia can take a lot of wickets and hopefully the other spinner who partners him can back up the good work from one end and bowl on a good partnership. But for Australia, definitely Cummins, Stark, if he's fit with that finger, Hazelwood, and then you've got Cameron Green. They're going to be important as well. Scott Boland, if he's a part of the squad, will probably bowl well in India, given those conditions, light and length that he bowls. He's quite accurate and he's on from ball one. So I think the bowling will do well. I think they can take 20 wickets.
Yeah, I think
it's just the batting that is going to be the concern for Australia. How many runs they're going to score.
The bowling, fast bowling matches India. So but the only thing India advantage in 3 spinners and I think all 3 will bat. All 3 can bat pretty much. Aksar, Ash, and Jadu, and then you have your batting is long, and then it's gonna be Indian spinners versus Aussie batters. That's gonna decide the game. Simple as that. Whenever someone come to India, it's how you play spin as a foreign team. That decides your fate. And Smith, Labuschagne, they need to be ready because Ashwin will take the new ball 110%. If Warner is up against him, that's the battle you need to watch out for. And it's gonna be an interesting BGT. So let's see what happens.
So I hope that helps, Steve. But thanks for your question. Very good question there. John says Boland should be the first bowler picked for us in India. He'll bowl all day and not break down. Well, he's very good. Very good bowler, Scott Boland. And I will be surprised if he's not in the squad for India, but I think he will be. He can definitely do a job. Unlucky for him to miss out this last test, but that's just the way that selection goes. You've got to make the tough calls. But no doubt he'll have a big role in India if given the opportunity. It's going to be interesting to see how Australia go about things in India because that's the next test tour, obviously in February after this test match. So it'll be interesting.
When are they leaving? When are they leaving for India? Any idea?
I don't really know that. What I do know is that they're going to play some Big Bash games, of course, after this test, because they're going to come back, probably play a few Big Bash games, and then towards the end of the month, get ready and go over to India as you do. So they'll leave late January, I think, maybe before that. I'm not sure. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But they're definitely going to play some Big Bash games, and it's not ideal. It's just the way the international calendar is. You would have liked to play some tour matches in India, but that's not going to happen. So you have to do your own preparation there in terms of centre wicket practice and practicing in the nets. So no doubt Australia will be doing that. So it'll be interesting. Definitely a big series, as always. And, after this series, there's going to be 5 test matches from now on in, isn't it? Between Australia and India after this series.
Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah.
John says, can Australia afford to go with 5 batsmen in India at certain grounds?
5 batsmen as in 5 batsmen, 1 keeper, that's 6. Is he talking about going in with one less bowler?
Well, he's talking about here, as John says, carry at 6, then the bowlers. So playing an extra bowler. So what are your thoughts on that, Aran?
So let's see. So okay, potentially Warner, Khwaja, Labuschagne Smith for head
Travis
5,
Head.
head 5, carry 6. All right, then Stark, Hazelwood, Cummins, Nathan Lyon, and then you're adding one more bowler. Since 4 of them can bat, I can go in with that combination. Yes, you can, because all the bowlers have the capability to bat. That's not a problem once you have that depth. If all, like India, if the tail didn't bat that well, then that will be a problem. But otherwise, you can do that. Pick one extra bowler, and then do your things, because okay, February, it's still winter in India, but you're going up north, so you'll have the chilly weather there up in Dharamshala. You'll have the chills in Delhi. Then you are in Ahmedabad, which is a hot region, and then you are in Nagpur, right in the middle of the country. So depending on the weather you play in, yeah, you can do that. Yeah, there's
Well, that's what they're certainly probably going to be thinking about in this test match, really.
you
Playing
don't
either the
you,
extra.
you don't get rains. You don't get rains in India, except for
Well, let's
Dharamshala.
hope not.
That's the
Um,
that's the only place where rain can come.
yes. As John says here, bowlers, Boland, Cummins, Stark, or Hazelwood, Agar, and Lyon. Well, I don't think Australia will play the. They'll definitely play 2 spinners. They won't play with 1 spinner. They'll play 2 in the side, 2 frontline spinners. So they got plenty of different combinations. You also got Cameron Green as well, who can be. That's why he's so important. It's not ideal that he broke his finger, of course, but against that brute of a delivery from Norkia, which ripped up and wrapped him on the gloves. But Cameron Green adds so much balance to the side. And with him in the side, you've got that extra bowler who can bowl seam up, bowl pace, and, really cause some problems if you can. Maybe Lance Morris, people have been talking about him. He may be a candidate to replace Mitchell Stark if Stark's not fit for the first part of the tour. Mitchell Stark probably said, well, he has said that I'll most likely be fit for the last part of the tour, not the first part. So he's a like for Mitchell Stark. Left arm can bowl quick. Not sure how well he can reverse the ball, but I'm hoping that he's got those skills already because he's done pretty well in Shield cricket. He could be an option as well. So don't discount him because you got that airspeed in India. Could be very handy.
Yeah.
As John says, I'm assuming Green isn't fit. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so they may do that if Green isn't fit for that first test. As you say, John, plan for the worst, hope for the best. Yep, that's right. But it's definitely going to be an interesting series, no doubt about that. But for Australia, it's very hard to win over there. So big series, but hopefully they can get the job done there. Thanks for joining us, everyone, as we're having a bit of a discussion, bit of a chat. Obviously, not much cricket in the last session, unfortunately. It was washed out. So we're going to try again tomorrow on day 4. But any more questions, everyone? Me and Aran from the Direct Hit, go and subscribe to him on his YouTube channel.
We just took a single and reached 1,100 runs or 1,100 subscribers. So we're just taking over ball by ball as
Yes.
day by day.
Absolutely. So go and subscribe to him. I've been on the channel before talking about Australian cricket and all other things cricket. So go over there and check out the videos and check out the episodes.
We're gonna put the link. I think I put it there. People to find it. Oh, I think you can give the permission to share the screen. Wait.
We can post the link in the chat for people. can do that.
Yeah, I think you can see a tab that would make it easier for them. You can see a tab, right?
Uh,
Uh,
yeah, I can. Um,
yeah,
so there we
there you
go.
go. Oh yeah, there you go. If people
So
can
that's
see,
Iran's channel, the direct hit
yeah,
for
that's
those. So go over and subscribe to the channel, and more the merrier,
oh,
as they
Mary.
say.
Yeah, keep the community going, guys. Cricket community in YouTube.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thank you. Okay. Whoops, and there it goes.
No, that's all right. um, John says, "Are you going to stream tomorrow?" I told you to go for 2-day stream. That's the thing, John. I'm probably not. Um, just want to, sit back and watch the test match just without talking to anyone, just to relax. So I won't be streaming tomorrow. This is going to be the last live stream for the test summer, obviously. We're going to be doing some Big Bash ones as well.
Are you going to do the league games or the knockouts in the Big Bash?
We've done a couple of league games at the moment in the Big Bash. We'll be doing the finals, the knockouts, and all that stuff towards the end of the month into February. And so that's what we've got for the remainder of this summer. But this series has been terrible for streaming, John. The first test in Brisbane lasted 2 days. At least we got to the third day in Melbourne, but the last session was washed out because of rain. And unfortunately for today, day 3 was washed out in Sydney. So it hasn't been great in this South African series, but it's been great fun nonetheless. So that's certainly what I'm thinking. So we're not going to be doing tomorrow, John. I was planning to do today only, but unfortunately the rain had other ideas, which is to be expected. But nothing you can do with the weather, I suppose. But at least we're having a good chat and discussing cricket, I suppose, to make up for the lack of play in this last session. So at least people are tuning in and
Yeah, we can have chat all day. We are that, I won't say geeks, but fans of the game. If that
absolutely.
that
We've got nothing else to do, so we can just talk cricket all day. So
no, we have things to do.
yes,
It's just that we are free at the moment.
yes. Why not? Why not? Let's just talk cricket. John says, you would have got an hour or so in yesterday. Yes, I would have in the last session. Unfortunately, rain brought a close to the last session of the day yesterday as well. So, oh, well, it's just one of those things. Just one of those things, I suppose. Frustration with the rain, but it's okay. At least we're having some fun nonetheless. So if you've got any more questions, everyone, we'll be happy to answer them as we've been doing for the last little bit. Any more questions on this summer? What did you like about the test summer? What was your favourite moment? So many great moments with the bat and the ball this summer in test cricket for Australia. Or talking about the game in general. A lot of issues in the game.
According to ICCWTC,
talk
South
about.
Africa are better than
John
England.
says cricket tragics. That's right, John. Yep. I've been hooked on cricket ever since I can remember. From the first moment I played cricket, I was hooked. So,
Hooked on the game, played it. I mean, I've been playing since like what 9 or 10. So technically,
same here.
yeah.
Same.
So technically, how many years into this game? 12, 13 years.
And people say it's boring. It's not boring. It's
Oh,
exciting. It's
if
fun.
you dig deep, like I played, like tried to go professional for a few years, age 18 to 20, then shifted into analytics, and was fortunate enough to get an internship with Punjab Kings into analytics field this IPL. So learned a lot more about what goes on the inside. I mean, we all can watch through TV, but uh, the main planning that goes into these games is really, point to point. These are some details that, like, for example, Jack, if you are watching the game right now, you're watching it as an Adelaide Strikers fan, right? You want them to win, or if they lose, you feel like a bit disappointed. But once you get into these things, if you are watching it now, you're watching it, who's gonna bowl the next over. You're thinking, like, is Rashid Khan gonna come in now, or is he not gonna come in? What is going on in the head of the captain? Like, for me, it was like, what is Mayank Agarwal's next move? From the outside, I would try to make that. What is he trying to do? And then have a discussion with the guys inside. Like, this is what I thought could have been done, and this is just my point of view. So it was a really, digging deep experience for me into this game. Like, it's not just what you watch on the TV. It's much more. It's much more once you dig deep into it. you know that's the thing.
Absolutely. There's many different things about the game of cricket you can always discover and learn about. Steve says, according to the ICC World Test Championship, South Africa are better than England, Pakistan, and New Zealand. Well, they are on the table. Just going to have a look at the table, actually. Well, Australia's clearly in front, India in second. So that's most likely going to be the outcome of the final.
Yeah.
Well, England do go to New Zealand sometime next month, I think, for a test series.
Month? Yeah, I think this way.
If England had this resurgence early on in the WTC, they could have been in the top two positions.
Oh yeah,
right now.
I mean, to win 9 tests out of 10 is crazy. First of all, with the way they've done, and plus with the way they are playing. It's baseball, 15 all out. So much more to see in this game. Everything. Okay, wait. On to that. So England tour of South Africa. Wait,
That's an ODI series.
that's an ODI series. Yes, correct. February, England tour of New Zealand. Yes, first test Mount Maunganui, February the 15th, and then Wellington. That's 23rd of the Feb. So yeah, 2 test matches.
Yeah. So, well, that's just how the WTC rankings work in terms of the points and that. Which a lot of people think.
Do you agree with the percentage system? I like the point system, to be honest. What are your thoughts?
Well, you got to find the best way to decide
Be fair.
Be fair on everyone, obviously. So, and besides, you're playing different opponents who are at different levels in terms of their Test cricket. You're playing at home or away. A lot of people said you should get less points for home wins and probably more for away wins because you don't rarely win away from home. Yeah. But it's just what they've done. It's what they've had at the moment with this point system. So they're sticking with it, the ICC. So I don't think they're changing it. But you would say Australia are pretty much certain. If they won this test against South Africa here in Sydney, they would have been pretty much there. But I still think they're pretty much in anyway. I would assume you would think India.
They're like more than 1.5 foot in there.
And you would think India, well, if they, win a test against Australia or win the series, you think they're in as well. And people have said Sri Lanka are a chance to go through as well. So there's still plenty to play for. South Africa have slipped to 4th place after being in 2nd place because they've lost this series against Australia. England, 22 test matches. It's a lot of test matches in that time over this cycle. And they tend to play most anyway. So, they've won 10, lost 8, drawn 4. But unfortunately, they have to wait until the next cycle, which will be the Ashes. That will be the next to start the new cycle after we have the final in June. John says Wellington is always a fun place to watch a test unfold. Who knows what the weather will do there? Well, it tends to rain there as well in New Zealand, Wellington. So I would think England will probably win that series. Just can't see New Zealand winning that series given how England are playing at the moment. Yes, it is at home, but New Zealand are a team on the rebuild. They've got a different captain now, Tim Southee.
And they're doing well.
Freed up Kane Williamson because he just scored 200. So
yeah, they're doing well for themselves under Saudi.
As Steve says, England's last 10 test matches, won 9, lost 1. That's pretty good.
Good
to see England.
Steve's good on stats. I like that.
Good to see England doing well, I suppose. Baseball. Brendan McCullum's philosophy as coach is pretty simple. Enjoy it. Go out there, have fun, enjoy it, and play with that freedom, which is certainly working, certainly changing Test cricket, that's for sure. And it will need that because its future remains uncertain to an extent. In some parts of the world, it remains uncertain, Test cricket. But what England are doing, they're certainly making people take notice and tune back into Test cricket and watch it, make it more exciting. That series in Pakistan has certainly done that. To win 3-0 over there, especially the first test, score 500 runs in a day is unheard of. So that was unbelievable in itself. But definitely changing the face of Test cricket as we know it. We've got some Big Bash action tonight. That's the Melbourne Stars and the Sydney Sixers from the MCG. That's tonight. That's tonight's BBL match. So a lot of people disappointed that the test match was washed out on day 3, but you can watch some Big Bash as well. So that's the Big Bash game on tonight as the Australian summer continues. Any more questions, everyone? We'll be happy to answer them. We've got some free time on our sleeves, so we can definitely talk about anything you want to know about cricket or any questions.
India's game today, yesterday, for that matter, how it went. If you guys saw, what else have we got here? The ongoing Karachi test. Any like there'll have to be a lot of changes.
John says there'll have to be a lot of changes to various test pitches around the world for baseball to really take hold. Yeah, it will be interesting to see what England do for the Ashes, of course, what sort of pitches they're going to produce, because if they have pitches that move around a bit, that's going to be difficult to play the way they've been playing, obviously.
But they already did the baseball on New Zealand and India, so in England, so yeah, the ball did move.
That'll be interesting. I think that's why people are saying, well, this Ashes series is probably going to be an exciting Ashes series. Unlike the Ashes series in Australia, of course, where it's pretty one-sided and Australia win most of the time. So no doubt it'll be an interesting series in England later on this year. But it's definitely changing Test cricket, that's for sure. It's making it more exciting again. Yeah. That's what you want. You want people watching Test cricket. You want people engaging with it. And we've done a few episodes on Test cricket, of course. With Gabe from Cricket for Americans. So if you haven't watched that, please do. It was interesting to hear Gabe's thoughts on the game, especially Test cricket. Steve, you say, I have to go, guys. It's 6 a.m. here in the UK and I have to start work soon. Nice to have a little chat, a little cricket chat to start the day. Have a good day, guys. Thanks, Steve. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it too, and I hope you have a very good day.
I don't know.
I hope
I
it's
don't
not
know
too cold
why
over
did I
there in
think
England.
that he's related to Bo Webster? Somehow he might be related to Bo, and he is from Australia. He's not. He's not.
But thanks for joining
Thanks.
us, Steve, and I hope you have a very good day. And as I
Lovely
said,
chat.
hope it's not too cold because it's quite cold over there in the UK
Yeah.
at the moment, but nice and warm here in Australia.
How's the weather in Adelaide? Down Adelaide. Sorry.
Pretty hot, quite lovely actually. Nice weather this time of year, unlike in Sydney where it rains a bit. So, it's good not to have any rain, not cold. Winter was cold, but
We
the
don't
summer
have
nice,
we don't
nice and
have
warm.
cold. We don't have cold. We just have snow, white snow all over us.
Yeah,
Yeah, in Canada during this time. But we are still safe. We are in the -15 range, which is
yeah.
considered good here. We are past those -30 days, so that's good.
Mm, yeah. Um,
How many people are watching though?
uh, quite a lot that have tuned in.
Hmm.
John says Steve Waugh's philosophy was to aim for 4 runs per over when batting, which was a
Yeah.
high target at the time. Yeah, especially in those days when Steve Waugh was captain in the 90s and early 2000s. But it's always important to play positively when it comes to any form of cricket.
Yeah.
Certainly Test cricket. It's always important to be positive rather than negative. And that's what Ben Stokes and Brendan McCullum are doing at the moment with the way they're playing their Test cricket. So play for wins, not for draws, as Ben Stokes said. And I'm pretty sure that's what Steve Waugh said as well when he was captain of Australia. But thanks everyone for tuning in and having a chat with us. We're just chatting all things cricket. And unfortunately, not much play in the last session, or in fact today actually, because it was all washed out with the rain, the persistent rain in Sydney, which is frustrating everyone.
yes.
But it's always a great test, the pink test, of course, as you can see, our logos and everything's pink for this test match in support of the McGrath Foundation. Do tremendous work, Glenn McGrath. And always the pink test is always a highlight of the Australian cricket calendar. So make sure you donate to the McGrath Foundation, support them and the good work they do, and get behind it and donate if you can. And it's a great cause and a great foundation as well. Unfortunately, disappointing that we've had some rain on this special day, day 3. But hopefully tomorrow we can have no rain and we can have some cricket, because the cricket we've seen thus far has been pretty good if you're an Australian supporter. Not so much if you're supporting South Africa. Struggling a bit with the ball again in this series, not a surprise. And been a tough tour for them. And they'll be disappointed with how they've performed in this series. But Australia will be delighted with how this summer has gone in terms of their cricket, in terms of how they've performed with bat and ball, and it's been pretty dominant. Would you say that, Aran, against the West Indies, South Africa? Pretty dominant summer?
Yeah, probably 10 on 10. Couldn't go perfect than that. Dominated every opposition. Not saying that West Indies is bad or in terms of ranking. Those are irrelevant when it comes to bat and ball. And Australia were just the better side. They showed how to read the conditions. They kept it pretty plain, I think. Plain as in just simple, doing the basics right and getting the rewards. Batsmen piling on runs, that's what wins you test matches. Getting 20 wickets, that's what wins you test matches. They did both the things and they won the game. So, yeah, if you go by like, a square plus b square is 2ab. So that's the formula. Basically, if a is equal to b is equal to c. So that's what they applied. And yeah, they won the games. So, yeah.
Yep, very dominant summer indeed. John says also have to get the bowling to get the full 90 overs in somehow as a spectator. This really annoys me, and it's not good for the game. It's frustrating. It's frustrating weather, bad light, everything like that.
Pretty
It's always
frustrating. Yeah.
always frustrating. We got to be patient, I suppose. But Test cricket has this problem. Obviously, the weather. It's always a big problem. So a lot of people suggest to build roofs over stadiums, but that's impractical, and that's not going to happen. So we just have to deal with it, I'm afraid. But especially the other problem in Test cricket, it's over rates as well. Teams not being able to bowl 90 overs in 6 hours, which is a concern. So that will need to be rectified as we look at ways to improve Test cricket and get it popular again and get people watching. And that's something that various cricket boards and organisations will have to work out in the game, which is something that Test cricket's been struggling for some time. But also with the bad light as well, we had a few problems with that on day one with bad light, players coming on and off the field, light meters. So that's another issue that we have to try and work out, try and improve that to get maximum playing time.
Yeah.
But no doubt the weather hasn't helped in this Test match. That's
not at all, basically.
Not at all, which is disappointing. John says too much time wasting from the bowling sides. Yeah, over rates have been a problem for years, and also batters are asking for gloves and changes of bats as well, and people walking behind the sight screen take time out of the game, so you get allowances for that. But it's been a problem for some time, and it's something that needs to be fixed, and the ICC are trying to do that in terms of fines, in terms of deducting points for WTC.
But still the game, the way it's played these days, people are only human. They'll take their time. You can only do so much to stop a thing, and that's pretty much the thing. So,
John says, I mean, in good weather conditions with no rain or bad light. Yeah, that always happens. Always delays, and something that teams need to try and fix as we try and improve the pace of the game. It's not only in Test cricket, but also all three formats as well. That needs to improve going into the future. That's for sure. That's something for all teams to work on. And definitely Australia have certainly improved that because of what happened last year. What happened in the last WTC cycle, they missed out because of overrate. So this time they've bowled the overs in the allotted time, so that's good for them. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I noticed that a lot of people have liked the stream and subscribed to the podcast, which is fantastic. So we're gaining some more runs here. Let's get to 600 if we can. We're on 565, so that's pretty good. So let's get to 600 if we can. And that'll be a great landmark to tick off. But thanks for joining us, everyone. Disappointing that we didn't get any play in the last session, but we've had a good time speaking cricket, talking cricket, interacting with everyone in the chat and the comments, and all that's been pretty good. Any more questions? Anyone? We'll be happy to answer them and talk about some more cricket. If you've got any more questions or topics you want to discuss before we pull up stumps and call time on today's proceedings, as they say in cricket. But it's been a frustrating day, definitely, not to get any play at all. Very frustrating, but good to see the people in the crowd in Sydney go to the ground and sit through the rain, and fingers crossed that the rain would dissipate and disappear, but unfortunately that hasn't been the case. And today has been abandoned because of that. Yeah. But good to see people passionate and enthusiastic about going to the cricket today on a very miserable day in Sydney. So hopefully day 4 and day 5 we can get some cricket and see some good cricket to end the Test summer. But it has been a frustrating day yet again in this Test match. So any more questions, guys? Any more questions? We'll be happy to answer them before we pull out and call stumps. But a reminder for everyone, this will be our last live stream for this Test summer, in fact, because we've covered the West Indies Test series, also the South African series. It hasn't been a productive series in terms of live streams because the series has ended in quick time. But no, it's been great interacting with everyone in terms of the live streams and watch-alongs we've done this summer in terms of the various formats, ODIs, T20s and T20 World Cup and the Test series between the West Indies and South Africa. It's been great doing these live streams and watch-alongs with all of you. And I hope everyone's enjoyed it. It's been great doing them, and hopefully next summer we can do them again. As John says, still rain forecast for tomorrow. Yeah. Well, that's not good news. That's fingers crossed, John. Fingers crossed. We have to be optimistic, even though if the outcome is grim. We have to be optimistic in some way, I suppose, as a cricket fan. But if Nick and Gabe, John, from Cricket for Americans were here, and if this match was a T20 match or a one-day match, they won't be happy about Duckworth-Lewis if that came into the equation. But this is a Test match, so we don't have to worry about that. But yeah, frustrating with the rain and the weather. Let's hope it clears, and fingers crossed, because Usman Khawaja is 5 runs away from a double century, so it'll be good to see him get that double.
He deserves it, actually. It does deserve
it. And for Matt Renshaw, get some runs, I suppose, being back in the side. So fingers crossed indeed. But thanks everyone for joining us. It's been great seeing everyone come in and join in the conversation. John says, where is it? Just hasn't come up yet. Oh, there we go. Imagine if we had Duckworth, Lewis, Stern for tests. I did read on ESPN Cricket Info, someone did suggest something like that. We should have Duckworth, Lewis or something like that, but it'll be hard to work out. Yeah, imagine if we had that. It would be a nightmare. But we don't, and that's only for limited overs cricket, ODIs and T20s, which is the best way to get a result in that forms of cricket. Iran, what are you most looking forward to in 2023 in terms of cricket? There's some big series on.
India winning one ICC trophy just to end that wait.
Well, can they do it? Can they repeat what they did in 2011 with Dhoni at the helm? Can they do that with Rohit Sharma? It'll be big. They can.
Only fingers crossed. It's a home World Cup. I mean, we've changed our policies. We've made 20 players pool. We've called an emergency meeting. All the things. Okay, the actions are being taken, but are they easy to say? But how easy to implement? We'll get to know in the Sri Lanka ODI series, and hoping for the best, because right now, Jack, every freaking cricketer in our country is getting injured or is absent. So the fitness is an issue, and we can't imagine going into a World Cup without Jasprit Bumrah and Ravindra Jadeja. It's like going into a World Cup without, say, your ace pacer Pat Cummins and your ace ODI batter at the moment, whoever, say David Warner. It's like double denting, and we don't want that to happen this time. Every time a World Cup comes near, someone gets injured. So this is maybe a curse on Indian cricket. Hopefully it ends. And one ICC trophy. And what else can we look forward to? The WTC and plenty of new T20 leagues, as we already said, in 2023. Ashes, obviously. India Pakistan once again in the same group in the Asia Cup. Probably this time 3 games, and the Asia Cup is in a ODI format. So yeah, plenty to look forward to. Just 5 days into the year, we've got 360 days,
Yeah,
to go. So
it's
let's see.
full on for cricket. There's a lot of cricket, and the IPL. That's starting a couple of months. So yeah, it comes around again. The IPL circus, as it.
It's not a circus, it's a pain for us, for the teams who haven't won. It's been
Mm,
16 years. Like, we are in a marriage with our team. It's been 16 years. We are married together. We haven't achieved much, but
yeah, that's just the way
especially
it
for
is, isn't it?
RCB fans, just imagine them. I mean, they have a bigger fan base than us. They haven't won a thing. Delhi, they have improved. They haven't won a thing. Gujarat, imagine, like, first season they did it. First season they got into it and they won it.
Mm,
So we all are saying beginner's luck. Let's see if
yeah,
they can, sustain it in the coming season. It's like a carnival, it's a festival when it comes around. So yeah.
yeah. John says Uzi might get his 200 last session on the last day and carry his bat for 5 days. That will be some sort of record.
After Ravi Shastri. Yeah.
Yes. Well, I well, to carry your bat, obviously the whole team's got to be dismissed. So, can South Africa take the last few wickets, dismiss Australia, and Usman the last one standing, and he's carried his bat. So, let's hope he can get it tomorrow, John, because he will be very nervous and he'll be very itching to get out and just knock over the 5 runs because he's batted well. He hasn't had a prolific summer, Usman Khawaja, but it's been pretty quiet, but he had a great 2022. And to score 3 centuries in a row at the SCG, following the 2 from last year in the Ashes, of course, is a remarkable feat. So, yeah, he's just batted well. Looked calm, collective, doesn't worry about anything, just goes out there and bat and does his job. And he's done it so well. So it's good to see him scoring runs, good to see him back in the side because he deserves it. He's played really well and he's earned that right to be where he is. So that's good to see from Usman. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. We'll be doing some rain dances, trying to get the rain away from Sydney, but
Yeah.
hasn't been the case, I'm afraid. Yes, a question I was going to ask you, Aran. I did read something that was it a India-Pakistan Test series at the MCG potentially, or something like that?
And
I saw something like that, but I
India
wasn't sure if
refused.
it was true or not.
India refused it. Something came up, but India just didn't. They said we are not gonna play. So yeah, it was an offer. Australia did offer, but India declined. So yeah.
Yeah, it's quite interesting reading that. But only for World Cups and T20 World Cups, I think, for India and Pakistan, which is
What am I hearing? Is this true? Cameron Green confirmed that he's 100% fit to bat and bowl in IPL for the Mumbai Indians, and
I'm not
what
sure.
I'm
Well,
hearing, according to Cricket Australia policy, until April 12th or 13th, he's not allowed to bowl in any sort of game or something like that. So at least for the first few MI games, he's not gonna bowl. That's what we are hearing. Uh, you know.
yes, probably dealing with his workloads and stuff like that. I'm guessing because he's being managed because of that. He was a big buy for Mumbai in this IPL auction, so they would like to see him contribute this season. John says, I don't think Uzi would be nervous. He's too chilled. He's cool, calm, and collected, Usman.
Yeah.
Sort of reminds all of us of those great players that look calm and collective at the crease, like David Gower from England, for example. Elegant left-hander. It just made batting look so easy, but it's not. And that's what Usman does. So he'll be hoping to knock over the 5 runs and get that double, and deserves it. And that will be his highest Test score if he can do that. fingers crossed if there's no rain around. Any more questions, guys? Any more questions? Any questions that you have about anything on the game? We'll be happy to answer them before we sign out and end the stream for today. So any last questions that you may have, anything, we'll be happy to answer them before we go. But thanks everyone for liking the stream, subscribing. Really appreciate it. Thank you everyone for supporting the podcast in the way that you have. It's going to be a very exciting 2023 for the podcast. We're going to be covering a lot of cricket for Australia in terms of a big tour to India, potential WTC, the Ashes, and a 50-over World Cup in India as well at the end of the year. So it's going to be a big summer, big off season for Australia in terms of overseas tours, but it's definitely going to be a very jam-packed year. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast and click the bell so you don't miss out on any of the episodes or live streams or watch-alongs we do. It's going to be a very exciting 2023, that's for sure. And come and join us, enjoy the ride, and have some fun. So, all right. If we got John here. John says favorite moments for me: Smith 200 against the West Indies, Chancellor's innings, and Warner's double this series. Yeah, two pretty good knocks. David Warner under pressure, coming back from that, dealing with all that pressure from the media and all that stuff, to come and score 200 was a fantastic achievement for him. Brilliant innings there in Melbourne, heat extortion, battling cramps, and it was such a tough knock from him, but he did well.
Yeah.
And also Steve Smith, brilliant double century against the West Indies in Perth, and Marnus Labuschagne as well, scoring 200. So some very good performances with both bat and ball this summer. It's hard to choose one. But thank you, John, for sharing your favourite moments there of the summer. And no doubt that many people will have a lot of great moments from this Australian summer in terms of the Test summer. And it's been quite an interesting summer in general. Quite a busy summer. We started at August, September. And T20 World Cup was here. And it's been a long, busy summer, that's for sure. So it's slowly coming to an end.
Yeah.
South Africa would have played an ODI series after this Test series, but obviously we all know what happened there. They cancelled that to prepare for their T20 league, which is starting shortly. So this will be the last international match of the summer, which is a shame, but that's just the way it is, I suppose. John says Marnus has done well, but has had the rub of the green. He has. It was quite interesting seeing the way Marnus was attending to his helmet. Did you see that, Aran, where he used the lighter?
Yeah.
Something you don't see on a cricket field.
He does weird things. He's just Marnus Labuschagne.
He's just Marnus. But he's probably the most luckiest cricketer I've ever seen. He's had so many chances, and he's made the most of them. So,
well, and imagine if Steve Smith never got hit on the head, we would never know who Marnus Labuschagne was.
No, he had a tough initiation into Test cricket, but since then he's done well to score runs, average 60 plus, and he's doing a great job, Marnus. So good to see him getting his opportunity and doing well. But he's had a pretty good summer. Very good series against the West Indies. A bit quiet against South Africa, but he had a pretty good first innings in this Test match, scoring 70. So he had a good partnership with Kawasha over 130. So he'll be happy with his summer nonetheless. And obviously big things for Marnus on the horizon with a tour of India and Ashes, and a lot of big things for him ahead. And hopefully many more runs and centuries.
Yeah, just not in India.
John says, his actions signaling to the dressing room looked like he was calling for a smoke. Yeah, it did. It was quite unusual seeing the lighter out there, but I suppose he was just trying to get some fabric off the peak of the helmet, obviously just going into the eyes. So that's why he was doing that. But, it's Marnus. He does things in his own way, and you need that in the game. You need those characters, and everyone's got their own different personalities, and no doubt Marnus has.
Yeah.
There we go. All right. Well, guys, I think that will do us for today. Thanks, everyone, for joining us for this live stream watch-along. Unfortunately, we didn't have any play to comment on, but hopefully, fingers crossed for day 4 tomorrow. Hopefully, the rain stays away. Hopefully, Usman Khawaja can reach a double century. Australia will resume at 4 for 475 tomorrow on day 4. But any last words, Aran, before we sign off and pull up stumps for today? Any last words you would like to add?
Yeah, thank you for the comments. The questions were really, debatable and good. And yeah, disappointing as Jack said, but it's not the Australian series. Anyways, we can talk cricket for another hour. But yeah, the day has to be called stumps, and just looking for day 4. Hopefully, the weather doesn't interrupt, and yeah, let's see what happens. It'll be like plenty of cricket going around. Keep your eyes on for that. Different parts of the world, and yeah, see you on the other side someday.
Well, thanks for joining me today, Aran. It's good to chat
Pleasure
again,
was
as
all
always. As John says, great chatting with the two of you. Ciao, until next time. Yep.
Ciao, John.
See you next time, John. Thanks for joining us. It's great chatting with you, as always. And to everyone, thanks for tuning in and engaging in the conversation. It's been great fun, as always. Thanks, everyone. This is our last live stream watch-along for the Test summer, but we're not done with watch-alongs or live streams. Do join us for some BBL action in the next few days and weeks, and we'll be covering that as well. So join me for those. Until then, if you haven't done so already, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Twitter and on Instagram. Podcast is now available on Anchor, Spotify, and on Apple Podcasts. Make sure you check us out on all of those platforms. And make sure when you subscribe to our YouTube channel, click the bell so you don't miss out on any of the episodes of the podcast or any watch-alongs or live streams that we are doing. That's the important thing to do there. So make sure you do all those good things. And until next time, keep safe and bye for now.